This is a video that I will probably and more than likely have to upload via my phone because I'm just about out of data for the month. I'm not going to be able to live stream again. That's the first thing I want to tell everybody. I live streamed that one time and it ate through my data. I only get 30 gigs, so, I don't like to complain. This is something that will more than likely get, this is something that'll more than likely get taken care of once I get better internet, and I'm hoping June, and I've talked about this before. So yeah, that's not really what this video is about. So I just kind of went off on a little tangent there. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so a while back, I was a huge fan of Jim Sterling. Huge fan. I agreed with him on so much. On a lot, especially when it came to the video game industry, especially when it came to indie developers who didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground and would swap assets, or not swap assets. I forget what it's called. Flip assets. They would flip crappy assets and make just dreadful games like they were horrible games, and things of that nature. I agreed on him, or agreed with him on many a things. And this went on for a while. Now, Jim is very much part of the. I'm not sure what to call that part of. I'm not sure what the wording to use here is. He's part of the. This is really hard for me because I don't know what word to use. The only words that want to come to my mind are very insulting. They're the kind of wording you would hear someone say in a context that would sound pretty crappy. And I'm not trying to sound crappy. Um, he's I guess liberal. I think liberal. I think liberal is the correct term. He's liberal, and I think he himself. No, in fact, no, I don't even think this. I know this for a fact because it involves what I'm going to talk about here. He um he has gender. I don't know how to say it. Gender dysphoria. Yeah. Which is also something I've dealt with for a good portion of my life. At one point in my life, I basically just decided I can't afford to do anything about it. I can't afford any sort of transitioning or anything like that. And the fact that I'm even telling any of you out there this is probably going to backfire in my face. But even though I've dealt with gender dysphoria for a good chunk of my life, I don't agree with a lot of stuff. I'm in the camp that I know people who are transgender, and they are literally trying to make themselves physically the gender they are on the inside, which is to say women. In many of the cases, the people that I know, they are women. They're not men. They're just stuck in that body, right? When you have gender dysphoria, it's usually that. It's usually being physically one sex that doesn't match the gender. And these people struggle. It's a struggle for them. It's something that they are trying so desperately to cope with. I'm in the camp that there's those kind of people, and then there's the ones who've morphed it. They've changed it and altered it and turned it into a subculture. And then you have people who pop up out of nowhere and come up with all kinds of terms that they're things that, quite honestly, I had never heard of before until the people in these groups came up with that and started say, well, I wouldn't say they came up with it, but they came up for the use for it, like calling themselves, oh, I'm a Zwei or Zweier, however you pronounce that. And I'm of the camp that that's insulting to people who actually struggle with gender dysphoria. Because to me, and I don't really know for sure, I'm just saying from my point of view, it was as if there was a group of people who were looking to fit in somewhere and they were struggling with something. And so they became part of this and then started saying that they were all these things that still baffle me to this day. And that's kind of what the story is about. It's why I'm no longer a fan of Jim Sterling. It's why I went from being a huge fan. I was a huge fan of his. I followed him on social media. Then he said something on social media, and I responded to it. And he said something he said something of, just give me a second. He said something like he'd come to terms with that he was non-binary something, and he called himself trash. I can't even remember now. And number one, you shouldn't call yourself trash or anything like that. You shouldn't put yourself down. That bugged me. But he also, the term, and I just, all I did was express this. There's this weird thing when it comes to, and I want to use the word liberal, but I don't know what word to use. But when it comes to people who are on that sort of extreme, if you disagree with them even a bit, if you voice your difference of opinion, keep in mind it's just a difference of opinion. It's just an opinion. But if you say that, if you say you just don't agree with something, you become the enemy. It's like war. You all of a sudden are a monster. And everyone crashes down on you. Everyone attacks you. And that's exactly what happened to me. When he said that, it was basically along the lines of, I don't, in my mind, the term non-binary doesn't compute. It just doesn't, I can't wrap my brain around it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Which is funny because even though that doesn't, gender fluid does. Gender fluid makes a lot of sense to me. It's a term that if you say it, it makes perfect sense. It's you're kind of in the middle, or you drift between the two. And that makes sense to me. But non-binary doesn't make sense because it's like you're saying you're not a gender. And it just doesn't compute with me, so I don't agree with it. And all I did was voice that disagreement. I just didn't agree with it. And out of the woodworks, his fan base just piled on me, just attacking me left and right. Well, verbally attacking me, maybe even emotionally attacking me. But they were just kind of, it was like just all at me at once. And I tried to explain myself further to him, and it didn't do any good. I was having to block his other followers left and right. It was getting out of hand. There was a lot of aggression, a lot of anger, and I can understand the emotions running high, but let me make this clear. Just because I disagree with like a term or whatever, or disagree with something like that, doesn't mean I'm your enemy. People can disagree about things and not be mortal enemies to fight to the death. But apparently Jim Sterling and his followers don't see it that way. So the moment I disagreed with something, I was like, I'm gender fluid. I just don't agree with this. It's the term non-binary makes not a lick of sense to me. It just doesn't. It does not compute. It doesn't. I can't wrap my brain around it. The more I try to think about it, it just makes me go it's kind of like the term back in the day there was nonconformist. It's similar to that. It seems like I don't want to conform to your ideals of gender. Maybe that's what it means. Maybe. But they went nuts. They came down on me like a ton of bricks. I was blocking people left and right, and then he blocked me. on Twitter. And at that point, I couldn't be a fan anymore. I couldn't. That kind of behavior is it's irrational. That's the word that comes to mind, irrational. When somebody disagrees with you and all of a sudden you're an enemy. You are a mortal enemy. You need to just drift off the face of the planet because you disagree. Because you disagree with something. They said, like, I don't want him to be happy. Never once did I say, I want you to be unhappy. I want you to be miserable. Ah. Never once. Never, ever once. It wasn't even my intent. But I can't be a fan of this guy anymore. I couldn't anymore. I wish him the best, but I can't. I don't know. I don't know how else to say this. I don't know how to go about this. On the one hand, it was a bit asinine to me. And this, it's not just him, it's that whole extremely liberal. I don't know if this is the word liberal. Look, I'm kind of center of the road. I'm what is it called? It's usually in my head. And I've forgotten it. I'm middle of the road. I'm a moderate of sorts, but I'm a moderate who's leaning more towards liberal. Okay. So because of that, I understand a lot of stuff that people struggle through and everything. I do. But I have my own mindset about things. But why have we de-evolved so much in this country? Why are the people and we as a society have de-evolved so much that we just have this pure hatred for people who disagree? Look, I get it if you're trying to tell somebody how to think, and I wasn't going to tell them how to think. I can't tell anybody how to think. It's up to them to think the way that they want to think. That's not something I do. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I try to do. But we should be free to disagree and not hate each other. What in the world have we become? What is happening? This was ways back, keep in mind. And if you question my liberalness, you question me at all being a friend of people on that part of the aisle, on that side of the aisle, think about this. The same Twitter account that I was following him and he blocked me and his fans went nuts on me, that same Twitter account got banned because I said that I hoped that Donald Trump would kick the bucket. When he got COVID, I was hoping he'd kick the bucket and and it's wrong, and I know it's wrong. It's wrong to think that way, but when you have a horrible monster like this guy, and I've known this guy to be a terrible monster for a long time, right after I voted for him. Yes, I voted for him. I regret it. I regret it every day of my life. I regret it. I voted for, this time around, I voted Biden. And even to an extent, I'm kind of regretting that. And let me explain why real quickly. Gas prices are going up. And I don't like the XL pipeline thing. I don't like it. I don't like the whole. I would like to protect the environment because protecting the environment protects us. Just to kind of go off for a second there and just say that. So, but people need to be able to get around, and they need to be able to afford to get around. They need to be able to afford the fuel to run their vehicles to get around. And I don't know if this is a direct I don't know if this is a directly caused by the cancellation of the XL pipeline, or if it's just retaliation from the oil companies. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention that for a second. So I'm not exactly nuts about Biden at the moment. But It's neither here nor there. The point is, I got, I said I wanted Trump gone. He was a mistake in this country's history. He is going to go down as a crap stain on the boot hill of history. He, yeah, he's gonna go down. I would say he's worse than Nixon. Holy crap, Nixon was bad, but Trump, he's really bad. So if you really think I'm that much of a conservative or whatever, just because I disagreed with a term, just because I had disagreed with the notion of something such as non-binary, just consider that. Consider the fact that that account is gone, because, and that's my actual the goof account that was on Twitter that nobody can follow anymore. That Twitter account is gone. It was permanently banned and suspended by Twitter because I said I would dance in the streets if Donald Trump kicked the bucket. I said that. And that was crazy shit. It was stupid shit. And see, here's what my mom taught me. Never hate a person, but you can't hate the way they are. You can hate, you can disagree with the way a person is, but you shouldn't hate them. And you shouldn't wish ill will towards people. He's a monster. He'll get his comeuppance if you believe in, oh God, if you believe in, give me a second to get this out. If you believe in karma, or if you're very religious, if you believe that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, if you're one of those people, either way, he's going to get his. He's going to get it. If there's any justice in this country, he'll get it. The point I'm trying to make is if I had any sort of hatred towards people on that side of the aisle, like people think, I would be rooting for Trump. I probably would have been one of the monsters who ran up to the White House that day and did the horrible shit that happened on the 6th. And I know that's bad. I know I shouldn't talk about it in that manner and whatnot. But I'm just saying, if I was that bad of a monster, I would have been right there with him, and I'm not. So, again, we've de-evolved to the point that people, you're an enemy. If you don't agree 100% with a person and their views, you're the enemy. You can't you can't agree to disagree, because you're a monster. You're trouble. You're a problem. And that's the world we live in now, unfortunately. And to Jim Sterling, I'm sorry. I really am. I genuinely didn't mean to upset you. I wasn't trying to make you feel like crap. I wasn't trying to make you feel bad when you were trying to cope with yourself, but at the same time, don't call yourself trash. Don't call yourself garbage. Don't call yourself horrible things. Okay? And just because somebody doesn't agree with something doesn't mean they're your enemy. The world doesn't work that way all the time. It's not that black and white. And I hope other people in the world learn from this. I hope if you can take anything away from this, is that we all have to live together on this planet, and we need to get along, and we can disagree, and we can still live in harmony just because we disagree. We don't have to be against each other. We don't have to. And I can't, I wish him well, but I can't be a fan of somebody like that. I haven't followed him for a while, but I wanted to vent about this so bad. I wanted to talk about this, and I had to get it out. Maybe one day he'll change. Him and a lot of other people will change, and we'll just get along. We'll agree to disagree, and we'll just move forward. This has been the Goof, and I'm out. Have a good one.